Ma'am, you need to leave this property.
Excuse me? I live here.
The homeowner reported someone's trespassing.
I am the homeowner. This is my house.
The caller said the owner is an elderly white woman. You don't exactly fit that description, do you?
The caller is wrong. I'm Dr. Simone Hartley. I've lived here 12 years.
Doctor, huh? Sure you are.
Officer Derek Ramsey had served with the Memphis Police Department for 4 years. During that time, he'd built up a disciplinary file that should have immediately set off alarm bells. 6 separate complaints. Every single one involved allegations that black individuals had no business being in mostly white areas. A man taking his dog for a walk in East Memphis stopped and interrogated about his address. A teenager riding his skateboard in Germantown held for trespassing on public walkways. A woman tending to her lawn in Chickasaw Gardens demanded to show proof she lived there. Every complaint wrapped up the same way: conflict resolution sessions that Ramsey sat through but never truly absorbed. On one Sunday morning in Memphis, his habit of presuming black people were out of place in wealthy neighborhoods finally collided with someone who'd spent 3 decades building her life in that very community. That encounter would destroy Ramsey's career, cost the city $2,900,000, and reveal a police force that had dismissed 6 identical complaints across 4 years. A black woman in her late 50s, Dr. Simone Hartley, stood in the driveway of her unpretentious single-level home, collecting mail from her mailbox on a peaceful Sunday morning. Car keys still in her hand after getting back from early hospital rounds. No offense committed, no unauthorized entry, no infraction whatsoever, just a physician grabbing her mail at her own residence. Yet Officer Ramsey viewed her through assumptions so warped by prejudices about who's supposed to live in pricey neighborhoods that he couldn't accept a black woman as a rightful property owner. Couldn't fathom that achievement and homeownership weren't restricted by the racial limits Ramsey maintained in his thinking, and couldn't grasp that the individual he was about to challenge had far more entitlement to that property than Ramsey had to question her presence. Before we go further, where are you tuning in from? If this is your first visit, please hit that subscribe button. These stories deserve to reach more people, and your engagement helps us shine light on more truth. Memphis, Tennessee. Central Gardens, a historic district famous for beautiful homes reaching back to the 1920s. Streets lined with trees whose canopies form thick tunnels of shade, and property prices reflecting both the architectural elegance and the status of living there. The neighborhood is mainly white, wealthy, and guards its exclusivity through methods both obvious and subtle. It was 8:45 on a September Sunday morning. The temperature was still pleasant before Tennessee's heat would settle in later on. Church bells echoed from somewhere nearby. A handful of neighbors strolled with their dogs or picked up newspapers, the type of calm Sunday morning when nothing eventful usually occurs. Dr. Simone Hartley had worked as a cardiologist at Baptist Memorial Hospital for 28 years. 28 years of preserving lives, conducting procedures, mentoring residents, establishing herself as one of the most accomplished interventional cardiologists in the Mid-South. She'd finished medical school at Vanderbilt, completed her residency at Johns Hopkins, pursued her fellowship in interventional cardiology at Cleveland Clinic. She'd contributed published research. She'd participated on hospital boards. She'd guided an entire generation of younger doctors. Her patients placed their faith in her. Her peers held her in high regard. Hospital leadership considered her invaluable. Simone grew up in Memphis, the child of immigrants who'd launched a modest restaurant downtown. She'd observed her parents laboring 16-hour shifts, barely scraping together funds to put her through college. She'd been the first family member to enter medical school. She'd fought her way through every stage of training with exceptional talent and unwavering determination. By age 40, she'd become an established cardiologist. By 50, she ranked among Memphis's finest in her specialty. 12 years earlier, she'd bought the house in Central Gardens, a beautifully maintained one-story residence with a brick base, a sheltered front porch, and a modest but meticulously cared-for yard. She'd purchased it outright with cash, the fruit of decades working 100-hour weeks and strategic financial management. She'd transformed it into her refuge, the sanctuary she returned to after shifts that frequently began at 5 in the morning and concluded close to midnight. Her neighbors had seemed courteous when she first arrived, some welcoming, others standoffish. Several had offered remarks over the years carrying subtle implications she understood well. Surprised she was actually a physician, questioning whether she lived by herself, assumptions regarding how she afforded the home. Simone had mastered navigating these microaggressions gracefully, picking her confrontations carefully, concentrating on her profession instead of neighborhood drama. That Sunday morning, Simone had headed to the hospital at 6:30 for early rounds, examining 2 patients recovering from surgery before returning home. She'd arrived in her driveway at 8:40, intending to change and work in her garden before the weather became unbearable. She'd exited her vehicle and walked to her mailbox, positioned at the driveway's edge to gather Saturday's uncollected mail. She stood in her own driveway, on her own land, performing an activity she did multiple times weekly. She possessed every legal entitlement to be there. She held the deed. She owned the land. She covered the property taxes. But Officer Derek Ramsey, answering a call regarding a suspicious individual, perceived something entirely different. Ramsey had served with Memphis PD for 4 years, working patrol in affluent areas for the previous 2. His superiors characterized him as thorough about property security, which translated to aggressive when questioning individuals who didn't align with his mental picture of who belonged in expensive communities. Across 4 years, he'd generated 6 official complaints. Each single one featured a black individual in a predominantly white area. A contractor's vehicle parked outside a residence in East Memphis. Ramsey grilled the workers, insisted on seeing permits, contacted the homeowner to confirm they'd employed black contractors. The workers held proper licenses and credentials. Complaints submitted, dismissed following diversity awareness training. A university student visiting his grandmother in Germantown, Ramsey intercepted him walking from his vehicle to the residence, required identification, challenged whether he genuinely had relatives in this area. The young man's grandmother emerged and verified he was her grandson. Complaint submitted, closed after mandating a community engagement workshop. A real estate professional showing a listing to clients in Chickasaw Gardens, Ramsey approached, questioned their authorization to be present, requested identification from the black agent but ignored the white clients. The agent possessed legitimate listing rights. Complaint submitted, settled with implicit bias training. The pattern couldn't be clearer. Black individuals in white communities, Ramsey presumes they're trespassing. Ramsey interrogates, insists on evidence, manufactures confrontations, complaints get filed, training gets assigned. 0 genuine consequences, 0 meaningful accountability. Memphis PD maintained a file on Ramsey documenting these 6 complaints across 4 years. That averages 1.5 complaints annually, all following identical patterns. Yet the department handled each incident separately, never linking them into the unmistakable pattern they created. So Ramsey continued patrolling, continued challenging, continued assuming. That morning, Ramsey got a dispatch call. Suspicious individual reported in Central Gardens. Caller described an unidentified black woman in a driveway on Carr Avenue. Caller suspected possible break-in or trespassing. Caller emphasized the homeowner was an elderly white woman. Ramsey arrived within minutes. This represented his specialty: safeguarding property, maintaining neighborhood security, examining suspicious behavior. He turned onto Carr Avenue and instantly noticed what the caller described: a black woman positioned at a mailbox in the driveway of a tidy suburban residence. In Ramsey's thinking, this scenario didn't add up. Central Gardens, pristine house, black woman, something's off. He never considered the woman might own the property. He didn't reflect on the countless black professionals who'd relocated to historically white Memphis neighborhoods throughout recent decades. He didn't question the caller's presumption that the owner had to be white. He simply acted according to his established pattern: spot black person in white neighborhood, assume they don't belong, take action. Ramsey positioned his patrol vehicle at the curb and got out. Do you believe officers should confirm ownership before confronting individuals in their own driveways? Share your thoughts below. Simone had just retrieved several mail pieces from her mailbox when she registered the car door shutting. She pivoted and spotted a police cruiser. Her heart dropped instantly. She'd heard accounts from other black homeowners in predominantly white areas, accounts about being interrogated, about needing to demonstrate they resided in their own homes. She'd never imagined it would happen to her. The officer walked closer, his hand positioned near his radio. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step off this property." Simone blinked, absorbing the ridiculousness of the demand. Hold on, what? I live here. The homeowner reported someone trespassing. Simone felt fury building, but maintained a controlled voice. I'm the homeowner. This is my residence. Ramsey's face remained unchanged. The caller indicated the owner is an elderly white woman. You clearly don't match that description, do you? Whoever called got it wrong. My name is Dr. Simone Hartley. I've been living here 12 years. She motioned toward the house. This is my home. I own it. My name's on the deed. A doctor? Right, sure you are. This represents the moment where assumptions transform into accusations. Officer Derek Ramsey had answered a call from a neighbor who'd made a presumption rooted in race. That neighbor had never encountered Simone, had never conversed with her, yet had concluded that a black woman in this driveway must be out of place. And Ramsey, rather than challenging that presumption, validated it. Officer, I'm not abandoning my own property. If verification is necessary, examine the property records. My name appears on the deed. I've owned this residence since 2011. I'm a cardiologist at Baptist Memorial. I've lived in Memphis my whole life. Move away from the property while I confirm your statement. Simone's professional restraint fractured. My statement? This is my house. I'm standing in my own driveway. Look at this mail. She lifted the stack she'd just collected. Everything's addressed to Dr. Simone Hartley at this address because I live here. Ma'am, I require you to. Who made the call? Was it Mrs. Henderson next door? The woman who's resided here 3 years without ever introducing herself? Or was it someone else who can't accept that a black woman owns property in Central Gardens? Ramsey's expression grew stern. I'm unable to reveal the caller's identity. Naturally, you can't, because then I'd identify exactly which neighbor presumed I was a criminal simply for collecting my mail. A vehicle slowed while passing. The driver, an elderly white gentleman, lowered his window. Everything all right, officer? Ramsey turned. Simply investigating a call, sir. That's Dr. Hartley. She lives there. Has for years. She's a cardiologist. The gentleman looked toward Simone. Simone, is something wrong? Simone's voice carried both appreciation and exasperation. Officer Ramsey here got a call claiming I'm trespassing in my own driveway. The gentleman's expression changed to revulsion. That's absurd. Officer, she owns that property. Verify the records if you doubt her, but don't force her to prove she belongs in her own home. He continued driving, shaking his head. Ramsey observed him departing, then faced Simone again, his conviction wavering but his ego undamaged. I still require verification. Then verify. Contact your supervisor. Review property records. Do whatever's necessary. But I'm not leaving my driveway. And I refuse to be treated like a criminal for collecting my mail. Ramsey grabbed his radio. Dispatch, I need a supervisor at 2847 Carr Avenue and execute a property record check on this address. Within 7 minutes, a supervisor's vehicle pulled up. Sergeant Donald Williams emerged, a 32-year veteran who'd worked in Memphis long enough to witness this exact situation unfold too many times. He'd reviewed Ramsey's complaint file. He'd pushed for discipline after complaint number 4. He'd been overruled by command staff unwilling to confront Union resistance. He approached and quickly evaluated the situation. A well-kept home, a woman standing composed with mail in her hands, a patrol vehicle obstructing the driveway. No indicators of criminal conduct. No indicators of anything except a flawed call and worse decision-making. Ramsey, what's the situation? Anonymous call regarding trespassing. Subject claims homeowner status, but the caller indicated I don't care what the caller indicated. Williams turned towards Simone. Ma'am, I'm Sergeant Williams. I apologize for this encounter. Are you the homeowner? Simone's voice remained steady yet carried the burden of her weariness with this situation. Yes, my name is Dr. Simone Hartley. I've owned this residence for 12 years. I'm a cardiologist at Baptist Memorial. I was collecting my mail when Officer Ramsey arrived and ordered me to leave my own property. Williams retrieved his phone and rapidly accessed the Shelby County Property Records database. Property at 2847 Carr Avenue, Simone Hartley. Purchase date 2011. No liens. Taxes current. Everything legitimate. He faced Ramsey with barely suppressed irritation. She's the owner. Property records verify it. Why didn't you confirm this before confronting her? The caller indicated. The caller was mistaken, and you should have verified before accusing someone of trespassing on their own property. Williams turned back towards Simone. Dr. Hartley, I sincerely apologize. This should never have occurred. Officer Ramsey responded to a call without appropriate verification. If you wish to file a complaint, I'll supply all required information. Simone glanced at Ramsey, then at Williams. Sergeant, this marks the 6th occasion in 12 years I've been questioned in this neighborhood. Security firms asking if I'm the cleaning lady. Neighbors asking if I'm visiting someone. Now a police officer ordering me to leave my own driveway. I'm a physician. I save lives professionally. And I can't collect my mail without being treated like I'm out of place here. Another neighbor appeared from across the street, a white woman in her 70s. Is Simone okay? Why are police here? Williams addressed her. Ma'am, did you call about a suspicious individual? No, Simone's resided here for years. She's wonderful. Who called? The question lingered in the air. Someone in this neighborhood had observed Simone in her driveway and contacted police. Someone had presumed criminal activity based purely on her presence. And that someone would stay anonymous while Simone handled the aftermath. Should neighbors face repercussions for false police reports rooted in racial assumptions? Share your opinion. Williams spoke into his radio. Dispatch, cancel that property verification. Homeowner confirmed. No additional action required. He faced Ramsey. Badge and radio. You're on administrative leave pending investigation. Ramsey's complexion went ashen. Sergeant, I was answering a call. You answered a call and made zero effort to verify information before confronting a homeowner. This represents your 6th complaint in 4 years, all 6 displaying the same pattern. You're finished patrolling until this gets investigated. Badge and radio, now. Ramsey surrendered them, his hands trembling. Williams addressed Simone once more. Dr. Hartley, the department will execute a complete investigation. You'll receive access to all reports and recordings, and I'm personally sorry this occurred. Simone nodded deliberately. Sergeant, I value your response, but I need you to comprehend that this isn't solely about Officer Ramsey. This concerns a system allowing officers to accumulate 6 complaints without repercussions. This concerns neighbors who summon police on black people for existing in spaces they own. This concerns being a homeowner for 12 years, yet still needing to prove I belong. By that evening, Simone had reached out to an attorney. By Monday morning, local media was broadcasting the story. Cardiologist confronted by police in her own driveway. Memphis officer challenges black homeowner's legitimacy. Doctor ordered to leave her own property following neighbor's call. The medical community reacted immediately. Baptist Memorial issued a statement backing Dr. Hartley. The Memphis Medical Society denounced the incident. Her patients started sharing their experiences with her accounts of a physician who'd preserved their lives, who'd worked holidays and weekends, who'd earned every measure of respect she commanded. Civil rights organizations extended support. The NAACP demanded immediate action. The ACLU recorded the incident as part of a pattern of racial profiling across affluent Memphis neighborhoods. Simone filed a lawsuit 3 weeks later, naming Officer Derek Ramsey, his supervisors who disregarded 6 complaints, and Memphis PD. The charges were explicit: racial profiling and discrimination, unlawful detention, harassment, violation of property rights and Fourth Amendment protections, intentional infliction of emotional distress, deliberate indifference to Ramsey's pattern of discriminatory stops. The complaint featured Ramsey's complete record, 6 complaints spanning 4 years, all 6 involving black residents in white neighborhoods, all dismissed with training that never modified behavior. Memphis city attorneys examined the case. Property records established ownership. Witness accounts supported the narrative. Ramsey possessed no legal grounds for ordering Simone off her own property. The complaint pattern revealed deliberate indifference by the department. The city settled 18 months later, $2,900,000 paid to Dr. Simone Hartley, among the largest settlements in Memphis history for an unlawful stop on private property. Officer Derek Ramsey was terminated 10 weeks following the incident. The termination letter was blunt. Officer Ramsey conducted racial profiling of a homeowner on private property. He ordered Dr. Hartley off her own driveway based on an unconfirmed anonymous call. He failed to execute basic verification before confronting a property owner. His pattern of comparable conduct, documented through 6 complaints in 4 years, demonstrates inability to serve without racial bias. Employment terminated immediately. Ramsey's name entered the National Decertification Index. His 4-year law enforcement career concluded. The union tried fighting the termination. The city presented Ramsey's complaint file, witness accounts, and property records. The union abandoned the appeal after examining the evidence. Ramsey issued a brief statement. "I made severe errors and permitted assumptions to direct my actions. I apologize to Dr. Hartley." Simone testified before Memphis City Council. "I'm a physician. I've devoted my life to healing people. I've worked 80-hour weeks for 28 years. I purchased my house with money I earned through decades of service to this community, and Officer Ramsey ordered me off my own driveway because someone called claiming the homeowner should be white. 6 complaints in 4 years, all involving black residents in white neighborhoods. That's not coincidence. That's a pattern. A pattern your department ignored until it targeted someone with resources to resist?" She paused. $2,900,000 represents what it costs to finally address one officer's 4-year pattern. But money doesn't reverse being treated like a criminal in your own driveway. It doesn't eliminate the humiliation of having neighbors observe you, proving you own your house. And it doesn't stop the next officer with 6 complaints from repeating the same behavior. Memphis PD implemented reforms 10 months later: mandatory property record verification before trespassing, accusations on private property, automatic investigation at 3 similar complaints, body camera review for all residential confrontations, community liaison program connecting officers with diverse neighborhood residents, command accountability for officers with documented patterns. Why do departments handle each complaint separately instead of identifying patterns? Share your perspective. This wasn't about one Sunday morning. This concerned a department that permitted Derek Ramsey to accumulate 6 complaints, displaying the exact same bias without connecting them into the pattern they formed. The complaints were documented. The pattern was undeniable. But Memphis PD treated each incident individually, never acknowledging that 6 identical complaints in 4 years signified systemic failure, not isolated errors. Dr. Simone Hartley bore the cost confronted in her own driveway, compelled to prove she owned her own home, treated like a trespasser on property she'd purchased with decades of hard-earned income. Derek Ramsey's career is finished. That's consequence. The city paid $2,900,000. That's accountability. But those actions arrived after 6 complaints and 4 years of identical behavior. 4 years of victims who didn't possess medical degrees or property deeds to present. 4 years of people questioned for walking, existing, living in neighborhoods Ramsey believed they didn't belong in. The genuine question is what transforms now. Do departments connect the evidence at complaint 3 rather than waiting until complaint 6? Do they identify patterns when officers repeatedly target the same demographic in the same circumstances? Do they prioritize protecting citizens over shielding officers with obvious biases? Because if we don't repair the system that maintained Derek Ramsey patrolling for 4 years through 6 identical complaints, if we don't confront the culture treating pattern recognition as optional, then we're simply awaiting the next officer with 6 complaints, the next victim, the next doctor who gets ordered off her own driveway. Comment if this should be required. 3 similar complaints within 3 years triggers automatic investigation and potential termination. No more isolated handling. Pattern recognition becomes policy. And if you believe these stories matter, if you think 6 complaints over 4 years should have resulted in action after complaint 3, then hit that subscribe button. We're exposing departments that dismiss obvious patterns. We're demanding improvement. We're fighting for homeowners who deserve to exist in their own driveways without proving they belong. This isn't about one officer or one doctor. It's about systems that permit patterns to persist and the people who suffer the consequences of that intentional blindness.